The way I did it was I came in through production design, which is good because you're thinking visually and you're very aware of the director's problems in trying to tell a story and how the environment is, you know, a manifestation of the narrative in some way. And you know, I sort of proved myself as a production designer in the scrappy, stay up all night for 15 days in a row kind of independent filmmaking that was done at Roger Corman's place. This was in the early 80s. And when they see that you have the creativity and the stamina and that you basically understand filmmaking, it's not a ridiculous leap in that environment to say, I now want to try my hand. I want to direct. I just basically went up to Roger one day and said I'd like to direct second unit on the film that we were making at the time, which was a low-budget science fiction horror picture. And he gave me a camera and two or three people, and we started a little second unit. And the second unit basically became this steamroller that wound up shooting about a third of the picture because they were falling way behind on first unit. So they'd give me the actors and say, well, do scene 28 and scene 42. And all of a sudden I was working with actors. And that was terrifying because I hadn't really thought that part through yet, you know, that in order to direct you have to work with actors. It's not just about sets and visual effects. And so it was simultaneously a shock and a joyful discovery, because I found that all actors really want is some sense of what a writer can bring to the moment, some sense of a narrative purpose. What am I doing? What am I trying to do here? What's the scene about? And it's really pretty much that simple. So that was the next epiphany, if you will, which is this part of it is fun too. It took me a long time to realize that you have to have a bit of an interlanguage with actors. You have to give them something that they can act with. You can't tell them a lot of abstract information about how their character is going to pay off in this big narrative ellipse that happens in scene 80. That doesn't help them. You know, they're in a room. They have to create an emotional truth in a moment, and you know, they have to be able to create that very quickly. So they need real tangible stuff, and that's a learned art, I think. But coming from writing and understanding what they're feeling and what they're thinking, what the character's feeling and thinking, and having thought about that a lot for months in advance is the way that I get enough respect from the actors that they trust what I'm saying, they trust what I'm giving them to do. Never give up, because it's going to be unbelievably hard. It's going to be a ridiculously brutal uphill fight all the time, and you just have to have tremendous stamina and self-confidence to power through it. You have to not listen to the naysayers, because there will be many, and often they'll be much more qualified than you and cause you to sort of doubt yourself. But you know, what I learned from those early days was to trust my instincts and to not back off, because when the hour gets dark, your instinct is to, or your tendency might be to say, well, this is just too hard, and nobody should have to go through this in order to accomplish X, whether it's a movie or whatever. But in the pursuit of excellence, and I think you can be in the pursuit of excellence when you're working on a low-budget science fiction horror film, if it's how you define it, you have to go all the way. It's that simple. Now, I don't mean trample over people. I don't mean turn into a screaming maniac. I mean, you have to have made that commitment within yourself to do whatever it takes to get the job done and to try to inspire other people to do it. Because obviously the first rule is you can't do it all yourself. I had to learn to inspire people to give me their best work. And I also had to learn to accept what they brought, even if it was either A, not as good, or B, good but just different from what I had imagined, and say that the end result of our collective efforts will be exactly that. It'll be all of our efforts together. It won't ever be exactly the way I imagined it. And that's I think, an important lesson as well, is that in any group enterprise, it's going to be the sum total of the group. So choose your group well, and go in with that little voice in the back of your mind that says, be zen about it, be philosophical. It's ultimately going to be the best that these people can do. Everyone around me had basically said, you stink, you suck, you don't know what you're doing. And I accepted it. But then a little voice kept saying, I don't think so. I don't think it could be that bad. I remember doing some pretty cool stuff with the actors in this moment and that moment. And I looked at it, and it was fine. So then I thought, you know what, I actually can do this. And I just fell in with a pack of thieves and wackos here. But I also realized that I was going to have to get busy and create my own thing, that nobody would hire me after that experience. Nobody would hire me and just put me on a film. I'd have to create my own thing and hang on tenaciously to that in order to be able to direct again, and that's why I wrote The Terminator. Ultimately, you reach a point where people will hire you because you have the strength, or some people call it vision. I don't know. That's a bit of a lofty word, because I don't think it's something that comes to you necessarily in the night. I think it's something that's the process of a very rigorous mental processing of the data on a day-by-day basis, and the possibilities, what you can do and what you can't do. And over time, people will realize that you have what it takes to be in that situation where nobody really knows the answer, although a lot of them think they do or say they do. And you've come up with the right formula. And to have come out of these battle situations a number of times with the right formula on a consistent basis, they tend to trust you more as you go along. They'll never trust you completely. When you're on a set, the creative process consists of, oh my God, how are we going to do that? You're going to have to move the wall back 3 feet, and then you're going to have to pile up some boxes over here and put the camera on it. It's all nuts and bolts things, and then you have to be able to switch that off in a heartbeat and think about what's the actor feeling, what's the character feeling at that moment, and it might be some really important, very pivotal scene for them.